Hello, Georgianna Church. I hope you're having a great summer. I just want to take a moment and thank Jen and Janice for the amazing job they did as they taught on Jesus's concepts about worry and the difference between worry and concern, and then the concepts of anxiety and worry that we all deal with. I could not think of a more timely message over the last 2 weeks, and I'm super indebted to the two of them for their work. So as we shift gears here, we shift gears to a place that I don't think you're going to like very much. I know I didn't like it very much. So I'm going to just encourage you right now, just stop, turn off your YouTube, just don't watch any further. You should not watch what's coming next because none of us are going to like it. All right. I feel like I gave you a disclaimer. I feel like I told you that this is going to be a little bit unpleasant. Jesus gets to a spot where he talks about judging others. Now, of course, immediately you think, I don't judge others. I don't do that. You kidding me, people? We judge people 1,000 times a day. It is like a constant pastime for Americans. So let me just share this passage. It comes from chapter 7. We're in the last chapter of the Sermon on the Mount. Verse 1, Jesus says, do not judge. Do not judge, or you will be judged. From the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now just pause just a little bit more. What Jesus is trying to say is, listen, I want to tell you right up front, don't judge. And then I want to warn you that if you're going to judge, then you need to know that the same measure that you use to judge others will be used to judge you by a holy Father. That thought alone should be terrifying to us. When we think about the collective judgment we've had over time about other people that will be used on us, we should pause right now in this moment and just ask God to forgive us for those times when we've judged other people unfairly. Then he goes on, verse 3, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. There really is this impulse we have to judge others, oftentimes based on external appearances or what we think we see, never by the true character who they are. I think there's a difference when you get to know somebody, you get to know their true character, and then you discern that they are not somebody who is healthy for you versus judging somebody based on just what you see or what somebody else says about them. Just recently, I had lunch with a couple of guys, and they began to talk about somebody who I love and somebody I care for deeply. And their comment was, this person was motivated towards an XYZ political leaning. Well, I just knew that wasn't true. And so I said, where did you hear that? Oh, somebody told me that. Well, that's judgment. It's judgment. I think we have to be reminded, like maybe putting a sticker on our mirror that says, listen, our issues are larger than they appear. This is what Jesus is saying about the plank. Listen, you got some issues that are bigger than your neighbor's issues. How are your issues? I just heard this analogy the other day. I can't remember who said it, but it was the concept to say, listen, we're so worried about what's on other people's plate that we just need to take care of what's on our plate. What is it that God has given you for the day to handle that is your responsibility, that is not on somebody else's plate? We just need to focus on our own plate. We just need to focus on where we're at. Listen, here's this sentence. To sit in judgment is to sit in a place of superiority based on images and not facts. Judgment declares your evaluation of someone else's worth. And so why do we do that? Well, we do that because there's this kind of unwritten rule where we have to figure out where we fit in the pecking order. Where is our place in society? So it's easy for us to justify and feel good about our sinfulness when we say things like, you know what, I'm not a murderer, right? As if that's somehow the standard for holiness. And then Jesus makes this wild statement at the end. In verse 6, he says, do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Part of what Jesus is trying to say is, listen, it is not your place to correct unbelievers. It's not your place. And when you attempt to do that, what you end up doing is taking something sacred and throwing it away, essentially, by trying to influence someone based on something they have no interest in. This is what Jesus is trying to tell us. It's literally like throwing your sacred worth to just a pack of dogs to devour. The way we change people's hearts is by modeling Jesus Christ for them. Nothing more, nothing less. Listen, I always want to be honest with you, and I started from the very beginning telling you, listen, this is not going to be a fun teaching. I'm guilty of judgment and judging others. You're guilty of judging others. But what Jesus is calling for is a holy discernment, to look into certain situations and discern what is healthy for you, what is good for you, and to think about the situation, not necessarily judging the person, right? This is a super complicated issue. This is just us trying to get to the nuts and bolts of what Jesus says. Well, listen, again, I'm indebted to Jen and Janice for having filled in for me while I was away. I love you, church. I hope this teaching is helpful to you as it relates to avoiding the trap of judgment, of looking at others and not knowing their story, and yet feel like you can declare their worth based on what you see and not on the facts you know. I love you so much. Can't wait for you to be with you again next week. We're almost done with the Sermon on the Mount, and then we'll talk about what we'll do next. See you next week, church.